All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the public board meeting of the Halton District School Board. Tonight, as usual, we now have trustees in person and online, as well as senior staff. We will be using the Crestron system for voting and speaking. Please be cognizant of the speaking order and wait for either the chair or the vice chair to recognize you to speak in both private and public session. Again, I'm asking for us to be mindful of the rules of the road and proper board etiquette. And again, want to thank you all for being here. Trustee Amos, would you like to make a motion to move into private session?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much. And Trustee Collard, would you like to second that motion?
Yes, thank you.
Is there any debate? Seeing none, are there any objections to moving into private session? And again, seeing none, by unanimous consent, we are now in private session. Vice Chair Harrison, the floor is yours. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the public board meeting of the Halton District School Board. The date, of course, is November the 2nd, 2022. I would like to welcome our guests both in the gallery and online. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you all being here to show your interest in the discussion occurring at the board. For those in the gallery, we welcome you this evening. As a quick reminder, my role as chair is to maintain decorum so that the board may engage in discussion, debate, and decision-making regarding our mandated roles in a respectful and efficient manner. All persons attending meetings must show respect for others in their language and conduct. Notices are posted around the room to remind you of the importance of a safe, secure, and respectful environment for all. Words or actions that make others feel threatened or demeaned will not be tolerated, and decisive action will be taken to ensure the safety and comfort for all. If you so choose to engage in continual and inappropriate behavior, we will ask you to leave the meeting. But please know we want you all to be here. We respect and appreciate your attendance in support of the concerns you have. However, if you choose to disturb or interrupt the meeting, you will be asked to leave. We ask all visitors and media to remain seated during the session of the meeting. We remind those visiting, including the media, that participation in meetings must be done through the online form. Posters are around the room with a QR code to get you directly to that question page. And now with that, I will take roll call. Trustee Amos.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Trustee Collard.
Good evening.
Trustee Daniele.
Thank you, I'm here.
Vice Chair Harrison.
Hello.
Trustee Garretts.
Happy to be here.
Trustee Gray.
Happy to be here.
Trustee Gerbentz.
Present.
Trustee Oliver.
Good evening, everyone.
Trustee Reynolds.
Hello, all.
Trustee Rocha.
Good evening.
Trustee Ruggiero.
Good evening.
And Trustee Wang.
Good evening.
Thank you. Director Ennis, could you please let us know what staff are in attendance this evening?
Thank you very much, Chair Shuttleworth. This evening we have a full complement of staff, both in person and online, to support tonight's meeting.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Tonight, Vice Chair Harrison will be honoring the land.
Thank you. Halton, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Attawandaron, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis, these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. As we gather today on these treaty lands, we have the responsibilities to honor and respect the four directions: land, waters, plants, animals, ancestors that walked before us, and all the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We would like to thank and acknowledge the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for sharing their traditional territory with us. Madam Chair, I just wanted to note I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to read this land acknowledgement today, and it reminds me of how we were so graciously taught to pronounce the names correctly for the local context and all the perspectives and experiences that have been generously shared by HDSB staff, treaty partner, elders, knowledge keepers, and people in this community and beyond who identify as Indigenous. I look forward to the board's next steps in deepening this acknowledgement, these relationships, and its ongoing and meaningful contributions to truth and reconciliation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Harrison. So during our first meeting of each month, we like to take some time to recognize the History and Heritage Months celebrated within the Halton District School Board. November is both Albanian Heritage Month and Hindu Heritage Month. November is a significant month for the Albanian community. Each year, during the month of November, people of Albanian origin celebrate the Albanian Declaration of Independence, which declared Albania as independent sovereign nation on November 28, 1912. In November, Albania also commemorates Liberation Day, which is the day that Albania was liberated from Nazi Germany forces after the Albanian resistance on November 29, 1944. Ontario is also home to a large and vibrant Hindu community. Hindu Canadians have helped build Ontario into a multicultural success story that it is, and has helped to build this province into the best place to live, work, and raise families. They continue to help foster growth, prosperity, and innovation throughout Ontario. Diwali is the biggest of all celebratory festivals that members of the Hindu community celebrate. It falls in either November or October each year, depending on the cycle of the moon. It's observed on the 15th day of Kartik, the holiest month in the Hindu lunar calendar. Diwali commemorates the victory of good over evil. In addition, during this time of the year, Hindus also celebrate other significant festivals such as Navratri and Durga Puja. Please say I pronounce that correctly. The Halton District School Board recognizes the meaningful contributions made in building Halton's communities and social, economic, political, and cultural achievements of Albanian and Hindu Canadians. Celebrating and recognizing these months of significance create opportunities to remember, celebrate, and educate future generations about Ontario's rich history. That now brings us up to the agenda. Trustee Daniele, would you like to move a motion to approve the agenda?
Thank you. Yes, I would.
And Trustee Garrett, would you like to second this motion?
Yes, thank you.
Is there any debate? Are there any objections to approving the agenda? And seeing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. In relation to this evening's agenda, are there any declarations of possible conflict of interest? Seeing none, we are now up to items 2.0, delegations and presentations to the board, and my favorite, the Inspire Awards. An Inspire Award is given to an individual or group that is formally or informally associated with the Halton District School Board, who supports our students and their achievements through exemplary caring, initiative, innovation, and creativity. Tonight, we have 2 Inspire Awards to present, one of which we have the recipient attending, and one of which will be followed up with a presentation at the school sometime following this meeting. Trustee Grabentz will run the presentation created by Heather Francie in the Communications Department. And I'm going to pass it over to trustees who have connections with these recipients to read the awards. So I'm going to first pass it off to Vice Chair Harrison, who is going to read the award for Sarah Ferguson of Tom Thompson Public School, and Trustee Reynolds will be presenting it.
Okay. Welcome, Sarah. Thanks for being here. So let me tell you a little bit about Sarah. Sarah's a teacher at Tom Thompson Public School. She's an outstanding role model for her students, and she's passionate about social justice, Indigenous and LGBTQS+ rights, mental health, and the environment. She helps run the student group Youth in Action. Working harder to foster an environment of inclusivity, Sarah has played an integral role in making Tom Thompson Public School the very best school it can be, from ensuring students' pronouns are respected to creating a sensory path throughout the school. Last year, her class received a $1,000 grant and built a pollinator garden. And she's also created a diversity library. Wow. Sarah, you are an inspiration to your students, parents, and all are grateful for the impact that you have on these students in this community. Thank you so much.
They can't.
I can only hold a smile so long.
Thank you, Sarah, for so much for all that you do. It's really great to see the impact even from the little community that you have who brought you here today. So thank you so much. So our next award will be given remotely at Tigerjeet Singh following this meeting, but I'm going to ask Trustee Garrett to read the award for Suman Azim.
Thank you. Suman Azim is a parent and student school council chair at Tigerjeet Singh Public School. Suman brings kindness to everything she does and to everyone with whom she works. She oversees school council meetings, organizes guest speakers, shares the voice of her community, and spearheads fundraising programs from photo nights and dance-a-thons to flower sales and more. Suman models the Tigerjeet Singh Public School motto, be kind, work hard, and make a difference. Her upbeat and can-do attitude has led to a large and engaged school council this year. Suman is the epitome of service before self, always considering the needs of those around her. Suman creates an important bridge between students, families, and teachers, making the school community feel more connected. And I can't wait to deliver this next week.
Thank you so much, Trustee Garrett, and congratulations, Suman. Okay, thank you so much. And as always, I want to encourage all members of the Halton community to reach out and look for those inspirational people to nominate for Inspire Awards. It's not difficult. The Inspire Award form can be found online at hdsb.ca, and it means so much to us all to hear about the wonderful contributions that are made within our Halton community. So thank you so much. Okay, we are now up to item 2.2, our student trustee report. Trustee Ruggiero and Wang, do you have a report for us this evening?
We do.
I'm sure you do. Go ahead. Thank you very much.
Good evening, staff, students, and trustees. I hope you had a wonderful week since Trustee Wang and I last spoke. Today, Trustee Wang and I are thrilled to be sharing you our student trustee report that will recap our second student senate meeting, which was yesterday, our second student equity committee, which was today, and a new project that we're doing alongside the Parent Involvement Committee. We'll also be sharing a few brief updates in our work so far. But firstly, I would like to thank all trustees here today for their support to ensure that all eligible schools have student senators. The work that you guys have been doing to, contact principals and staff to encourage student senators has been monumental, and we've really seen some action and student voice because of it. So I would just like to thank you all for that, and it wouldn't be possible without all your support. I'll pass it over to Trustee Wang.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the boardroom today since I'm not in my best condition right now, so please enjoy my profile photo staring back at you as I share our updates on Student Senate. So yesterday, Trustee Roger and I had our second Student Senate meeting with our amazing student senators and staff advisors. I'm super excited to share with you all everything that happened. So first, our separate elementary and secondary sessions began with the land acknowledgement, which were led by 4 senators and was said in French. A new approach we've taken this year in Senate is to follow up every reading of the land acknowledgement with a personal connection, whether it's a connection with the land we're on, the Indigenous communities, or something new that they've learned and would like to share. Our senators who led this last evening gave extremely insightful connections, and we look forward to continuing this throughout the year. Next, Trustee Roger and I provided some updates about Osta ACO, our upcoming meeting with Mental Health Lead Michelle Bates regarding the Mental Health Leadership Committee motion, and our upcoming meeting with Communications Officer Jason Meisner regarding the Student Senate video. We've also extended the deadline for Senate Executive Council and Senate subcommittees to November 11th and open up our applications for student representatives to sit on the HESB's Environmental Leadership and Sustainability Committee and the Mental Health Strategy Advisory Committee, both of which will be due by November 18th. To any senators who may be watching, I highly encourage you to take advantage of these wonderful opportunities and apply. We've also had a goal-setting session last night for our elementary and secondary senators, where we brainstormed what Senate's goals should look like for this year. We heard some great ideas, such as increasing support for ESL students, following up on previous Senate initiatives such as the menstrual equity piece, and focusing on relevant topics in the modern world such as coding and public speaking. Trustee Roger and I will be consolidating all of these great ideas into a list of goals alongside other senators through smaller meetings in hopes to pass these goals by our next Senate meeting on December 6th. And lastly, to wrap up our separate sessions, we further encouraged our senators to work with their staff advisor to introduce themselves to their schools if they haven't already, to bridge that connection between Senate and the schools that we represent. And during our joint session, we welcomed our guest speaker, Human Rights and Equity Advisor Pardeep Singh Nagra. Prior to his speech, we held an equity learning session where we watched a video with our senators to collectively gain new knowledge and then held discussions about important topics related to equity, such as microaggressions and policing. Despite technical difficulties, Mr. Nagra was still able to join us, and we were so happy to have him yesterday evening. It was amazing to hear him reflect on his experiences and his life while connecting it to equity and students' role in it all. And our senators were so captivated by everything he said that many of them asked us how they could reach out to him after the meeting. I have no doubt that they learned a lot, so thank you so much, Mr. Nagra, for joining us last night and being so vulnerable and open about your journey with us all. Our next Senate meeting will be on December 6th, and we'll see everyone there.
Alongside Student Senate, just a few hours ago, Trustee Wang and I hosted the second Student Equity Committee meeting. We had the pleasure of welcoming our new staff advisors who will be supporting the committee going forward. As an equity committee, we are in its very early stages. The current objective is to begin to educate, promote, and understand the role of the student equity in our board, and further learn to launch and educate students on our work going forward. Our team consists of a small group of students who was part of the development of the committee last year and who has formal equity training through a equity training toolkit last year. We are currently developing a structure for larger student representation and projects with early plans to have 4 secondary student representatives with 2 junior and 2 senior reps from each family of school and 4 elementary intermediate reps from each region. Students on this committee will be on the team, will be exploring a video, a website, and social media posts to promote this opportunity to HDSB students. And we have a target launch of February, and we look forward to supporting equity in our board and providing new opportunities for students to engage within equity work going forward.
And some smaller updates. So tomorrow, Trustee Roger and I, along with VP Luisa Botello, will be meeting to go over the Student Senate Terms of Reference. We will be updating any necessary info in hopes to show it to our senators and pass it in one of our next few meetings. With these Terms of References, the process of how Senate works will be more clear, and we hope that it will support our senators in engaging with their schools and carrying out their work to the best of their abilities. And at the last board meeting, I mentioned that Trustee Roger and I had planned to meet with Communications Officer Jason Meisner regarding filming an updated Student Senate and Student Trustee video. We have rescheduled that to this Friday, so we are looking forward to it. Student Senate has changed so much over the years, so updating the video is the first step to ensuring that the students of the HCSB are aware of what Senate is up to and what student senators do.
In connection with that, Trustee Wang are also working on a brilliant project put together by Superintendent Flahat to create a parent involvement committee talk show. This initiative seeks to engage parents on initiatives and things that are important to their children's education. Through a Q&A style process featuring staff, students, and guest speakers, they'll share their insight on a wide array of topics. We are excited to be working with the communications teacher, Mr. Lee at MMR, and a student team who will be bringing this talk show all to life through student editing and staff supervision. It's going to be a great project, and we look forward to engaging with parents and continuing to support the Parent Involvement Committee tomorrow during their meeting.
In closing, we look forward to furthering our work and continuing to support our student senators as Student Senate progresses. We're so excited as student trustees for all the initiatives we've had the opportunity to lead or be part of, and we thank you for listening to our report today. As always, we're happy to answer any questions or comments.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from trustees for our student trustees and their report this evening? Okay, I always try to have one. So I'm coming back to, and I know you talked a little bit about it at the end, about the sort of the connection you're trying to make with PIC. So I'm really interested to see how you see that moving forward. And I don't even know where we stand with PIC conferences anymore, as far as the big one. I don't think that we're doing those anymore, but is there any plans in moving forward as far as collaborating with meetings, or what is it that you're looking at doing?
Through the chair to the chair. That's a great question. Right now, Trustee Wang and I are in the early stages with collaborating with Superintendent Flahat. We actually had a meeting yesterday regarding the structure of our involvement. So really our idea and engagement with parents is stemming from this talk show. So it's going to be a talk show where staff and students come together, and we're going to be talking about issues that are going to be impacting parents and students. And really, it's going to be starting from that initial point of engaging with parents on outside of school, and it may develop into potentially Trustee Wang speaking at the PIC conferences and sharing any student insight that the PIC committee may need. But it's important that we have that open dialogue. As Trustee Wang represent the children of many of these parents, we're there to inform them of many great opportunities like Student Senate, like the Student Equity Committee. So it's really going to be hopefully an ongoing relationship with PIC, so we can help out their initiative to talk to their students about what matters to them, but also really engage parents with what's the opportunities for students to get involved with going forward. So thank you.
And I think that's great, because I know as a parent, you always are wanting to find out what your kid can and can't do in school, and having that other avenue to find that information sounds really great. So Trustee Wang will be the talk show host?
Trustee Wang and I will, hopefully. Yes, okay. Yes, we'll be there.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your report. Trustee Wang, I really hope you feel better for Friday for your video conferencing with the Communications Department. And thank you very much for both of your report. Okay, thank you very much. We are now on to item 2.3 and 2.4, which are delegations and presentations, of which we have none tonight. So that brings us up to item 3.0 and 4.0, the consent agenda items for both approval and information, which include the Halton District School Board minutes for approval from October the 26th, and the order paper and the board report schedule 22136 for information. I'm going to put the motion on the floor. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the consent agenda and receive the information items for October the 26th, 2022. Trustee Gray, would you like to make a motion to deal with the consent agenda?
Yes, I would, please.
Thank you very much. And Trustee Grabentz, would you like to second that motion?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Are there any items from the agenda or consent agenda that need to be pulled for discussion this evening? Seeing none, are there any objections to approving the consent agenda? And again, seeing none, the consent agenda is then approved by unanimous consent. And that brings us up to item 5.0, items for ratification or action this evening. First off is item 5.1, ratification for business transacted in private session. Vice Chair Harrison, do we have any business from private session that requires approval this evening?
Not this evening, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That brings us up to item 5.2, moving right along to items for action on November the 2nd, 2022, item 5.2.1, the Audit Committee Policy and Governance Procedure, report number 22129, Trustee Rocha and Trustee Collard on behalf of the Governance Standing Committee. Would you like to speak to that, Trustee Collard?
Yes, the Audit Committee policy and governance procedure were in the cycle to be reviewed, and Superintendent Ngoy successfully went through both of those documents and reviewed them and found one small change, which was discussed at our last committee of the whole. And so if there are any questions, I would direct those questions to Superintendent Ngoy to respond to. And if not, then that's great too.
Okay, I'll read the motion. Be it resolved that the Audit Committee Policy and Governance Procedure appended to report 22129 be adopted. Trustee Collard, would you like to make a motion to move that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And Trustee Collard, would you like to second that? Oh, sorry, Trustee Rocha. I'm looking at you. Trustee Rocha, would you like to second it?
I do. Thank you.
Sorry, are there any questions or debate? Seeing none. If you can please move over to your questions and vote, please.
In favor?
Thank you very much. Trustee Wang? Wonderful. And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. That brings us up to item 5.2.2, the Long-Term Accommodation Plan, or LTAP, for final approval, revised report number 22099. Superintendent Gaudette and General Manager Thibault. I'll get it right eventually. Would you like to speak to this, please?
All right, so thanks again. I'm here again for the LTAP. So long-term accommodation plan was a long time coming. Last point for the night, I swear. So I'm happy to announce that we're finally here. We've reached pretty much the end of the LTAP process in terms of updating and making some significant changes. I just want to maybe direct your attention to some of the revisions that were made to the report. So since the last presentation on September 21st, the major changes that we've done, we've added in red as part of this document, just so you know what's been added and removed. So I'll just go over them very quickly. We added a boundary review process that we're going to be proposing in later weeks, which is the Glenview, Maplehurst, and ERA 100 because of ongoing enrollment pressures and some of the feedback that we heard from the community as well as the school administrators down there. We've updated on the website the extracts that provide a very brief summary on all the municipalities. So if ever you're just looking for the cheat sheet as to what's going on or what's planned, that's been updated. We've provided all the feedback results and some narrative around that, as well as some of the requested mapping for the satisfaction mapping, essentially, as to where some of the areas were that our respondents were most satisfied or least satisfied with, as well as we've provided all of the feedback that was provided to us through the the survey, which we had about 996 respondents. So all of that's in there. It's organized by municipality and ERA. So if ever you're looking for, specifics as to what's happening and relating that back to that satisfaction map, it's all there for review. And lastly is the updated approval schedule, namely with regards to the boundary review process. So just so that you're aware, we'll be bringing forward our first boundary review report on November 16th for approval on December 7th to start up these three processes we're looking forward to. In terms of the updates to the LTAP, the document itself, as we went over, and I won't go over it in detail, when we discussed that committee of the whole, we managed to incorporate all those changes we're planning to do for this document for this year. So the new KPIs, we completed the section with Indigenous rights on the front end that we're working with our Indigenous rights and education department directly and consulting with them, and we're looking forward to even further consultation with that and a number of other additions in terms of clarifying definitions, especially what we're hearing from the feedback that things were not as clear. So all of that's been achieved in the document, which is now available online. And we're going to continue to update it. The one thing I didn't want to mention is that there's still a couple KPIs that we want to finish off, namely there's the accessibility and the air conditioning components of it. So our intent is that as the year progresses, we will version this document. So the one that's being approved tonight, we're hopefully going to be adding that data in and then, further finalizing the document before we kick off to the 2022 version. I do want to stress that no changes will be made to the accommodation plans, which is kind of the crux of the document. So the anticipated boundary reviews that are approved tonight, if that is approved, those stay the same. It's really just going to be grammatical or any kind of additional data that we're able to gather until we hit the next round for the LTAP. So with that, I'd be remiss to not thank the planning department. This was a huge endeavor, and they definitely did the heavy lifting in terms of bringing it all together and taking all the feedback from everyone and bringing it to the point that it is today. Also want to thank facility staff for incorporating all of their respective sections in there too, and working with us, trustees, senior staff, and again, our Indigenous rights and education department too, and contributing and continuing to contribute and work with us on this document. So again, thank you, and yep, happy to take any questions with regards to the document.
Thank you very much. Do any trustees have any questions for General Manager Thibault? Trustee Reynolds.
Thank you, through the chair. I would like to also echo thanks to the planning department and appreciation for creating this document that has so much great information. And I also appreciated reading through the community feedback piece, which was important. So I just actually have two comments that I'd like to leave here. Since this report had been released, I've heard from a few parents from the school council community at Glenview Public School who were very much in the wanted to impress that should the new board decide to engage and commence a boundary review for Glenview, that they would be very interested in being part of the conversation, and that they would hope that the Pathway 1 approach, consulting with the community, is very much considered, rather than the Pathway 2, which is information to the community. So I just wanted to leave that there because, as you know, I'm outgoing as trustee of the community. The new board starts November 16th, and this report is first up. So the new trustee elect will be having to address that. So I just, as a courtesy to the community and hearing these words, I just wanted to leave it here with this board so that that's on record. That was my first comment. My second comment was, I guess I was kind of surprised, well, maybe not. There was a few schools that had high facility index demarcations. And so I often wonder when we look at, or I'm wondering if at this moment, if you could just share high level, when we have schools that have high facility index, and I think the term was, what was it? I know they were in the orange. they were in the red. They were really high, like 50% plus. How does that inform, or how is that information considered for future capital improvements to a particular school? And, or of course, we used to call it close the gap improvements. How is that information, inform our process going forward? Because I think the question that I've certainly been asked is when you see a school that has a high facility index, that it needs a lot of capital improvements, the community wants to know, well, where is it going to be, where are we going to see improvements to rectify those issues? So I guess that would be my question rather than a comment, if you could.
Thank you for that question. So the FCI does inform our priority planning. The FCI data is made up of a variety of components from urgent to high to low urgency in terms of timelines to replace infrastructure. It's based on a theoretical life cycle of components, which needs to be validated. But certainly if you look at a school that has a high FCI, that does inform our workload and our capital plan. Certainly the urgent and high needs are a priority for us to get at and resolve. And I will say that as we plan our work, my experience has been sometimes you do see a school that continues to have the FCI increase, but at the same time, if we're planning our work well, we should see significant drop in that FCI at a point in time when we've amassed the project and are ready to take on the work. And so I've had examples where we've seen the FCI reduced by 20 to 30% in a year, given we've been able to deliver a project of significant value, and you know that percentage is all based on the magnitude of the project and the replacement value of the school. So if it is a smaller school with a lower replacement value, Sometimes it's easier to have that number creep up, I'll say. But it's also easy to bring it back down versus larger schools with significant needs that they tend to take more planning. But certainly that does inform our work, and that the obligation for our board to report back to the ministry through VFA on how we're completing our work has become more onerous. We have more checkpoints, more rigor applied to responding and reporting back to the ministry how we're using our capital renewal to get at our high and our urgent needs. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you. I think you did. I think the point is made that it's an important part of our planning and it's duly considered. And I think that's what people need to hear is that you collect this data. It's a great planning tool. And I'm pleased to see that that's the way forward. So thank you.
Vice Chair Harrison.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I think that the key performance indicators are a really great addition to the document, such as the FCI and the climate change related and the outdoor spaces and all of that. I think those are really interesting pieces, and I am grateful for what's in there now and the information that's to come. I think it's kind of makes it more of a one-stop shop, and the graphics are really user-friendly as well, I think. So I have also a question, which is the second part of the motion that's going to be put before us speaks to filing the LTAP with the Ministry of Education and also circulating it to those on the Community Planning and Partnerships list. So I'm just wondering if you can refresh my memory on who's on that list, and if others wanted to get on that list, how would they do that?
Absolutely. Through you, Chair Shuttleworth, to Vice Chair Harrison. The list is inclusive of pretty much all of our municipal partners that share jurisdiction with us. So anybody that, whether it's the municipalities, the regions, any kind of service providers that are within, the Halton region that serve this area, we would be circulating to them. So pretty much the exact list is 44498. The other folks that I typically add as part of that too is any contacts we typically have. So, municipal staff that we work with on a day-to-day in terms of preparing school sites or school sites that are to be. I just like to throw it over to everybody just so that they're made aware of it, and that it's also, it's not only a good planning tool for us, but it's also a good planning tool for them. And when they're trying to prioritize certain capital projects, especially at the regional municipal level, which we're enhancing that level of communication. So those are the folks that we circulate this to. In terms of who wants to get on that list, it would just be a request over to planning, and what we'll do is we'll keep building a list. And, whatever's in our policy is one thing, but this is certainly a public document that I'd be happy to share with whoever's interested in reviewing it. So, the key piece of all this is to really enhance that engagement. So the more people that have eyes on it, which seems to be the case in the past few years, the better, because then we just get better outcomes. So.
Thank you. I have a quick question, as always. I just wonder, so within the last couple of weeks that this has been out and you've had feedback to this form, has there been a great deal of feedback to the form after it's been published?
Through Chair Shuttleworth, to answer your question, we haven't had it. The feedback form hasn't been open since then. So what we've done since the feedback was taken, we tried to take some of the key points that we were discussing at committee of the whole of things that were misunderstood or weren't as clear, and then we've enhanced all of that. So I guess the test will be the next iteration of the document, which I'm thinking next year's 2022 version would be more focused on completing and focusing more on how do we engage as part of the process now that we don't have to read or develop the document. I'm thinking as part of that feedback process is where we're going to start getting some additional spot checks from the community as to have we achieved what we sought to do in terms of responding to that feedback. And And any other kind of direct questions that were made is specific to the accommodation planning, recommendations made within the document from the community members. Planning staff have been great in terms of going out and explaining to them the rationale behind it all, as well as the process to come, that this isn't really the approval of all of these projects. This is the approval of the path forward in principle, and that, there's going to be further approvals as required based on the process. So, in a long-winded way, we don't have the answers yet on the feedback, but I'm hoping that as we continue and refine the documents, those will be addressed.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Are there any more questions? And seeing none, I will read the motion. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the 2021-2022 Long-Term Accommodation Plan, or LTAP, and that staff be directed to submit the updated LTAP to the Ministry of Education, and further that all entities identified in Community Planning Partnerships notification be advised that the LTAP has been approved, and direct them to the board's website to review the electronic document. Trustee Reynolds, would you like to move that motion?
I'd be happy to move that.
Thank you very much. And Trustee Gray, would you like to second that?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? Seeing none, if you can please cast your votes.
In favor.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And that passes unanimously. Thank you very much, General Manager Thibault. And that brings us up to item 6.0, communication to the board. And up first we have for action for November the 2nd is the technical amendment to the board governance bylaw, report number 22137, Director Ennis.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Carrella.
Thank you, Director Ennis, and to all trustees through the chair. The report before you just describes some minor amendments to the board governance bylaw that the board adopted in September. These amendments are minor in nature to reflect the current practices of the board. They do not introduce any changes to the current procedures of the board. Open for questions.
Trustee Collard.
Thank you. Since these are technical changes, I'm wondering if it would be the will of the board to suspend the rules and vote on this item tonight. And I would make such a motion.
All right, so Trustee Collard is moving to suspend the rules. Does any, Trustee Rocha seconds that. Is there any debate on this motion? Can you do that from over there? Seeing none, can you cast your vote on suspending? Oh, hold on. On suspending the rules, please.
In favor.
Thank you very much, and that passes unanimously. So back to the original motion. Does anybody else have any further questions or discussion pieces? Oh, right. So be it resolved that the board governance bylaw as appended to report number 22137 be adopted by the Halton District School Board, Board of Trustees, and that all prior versions of the procedure bylaw be hereby revoked. Trustee Collard, would you like to make a motion to move that?
Yes, thank you.
And Trustee Oliver, would you like to second that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Is there any debate? Trustee Collard? Was that old? That was an old one? Seeing none, if you can please pop on over to Questron and cast your votes, please.
In favor.
Thank you very much, Trustee Gray. Thank you very much, and that passes unanimously. Thank you very much, General Manager Carrillo. Do we have a new information report? Oh, that brings us up to item 6.1.2, approval of trustees' expenses, schedule number 1, report number 22138. Superintendent Schoss, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, just draw everyone's attention to Schedule 1. It's a soft revision, not anything extraordinary, just reformatting and making some things a bit clearer. So I'll just walk through it quickly. Computer equipment and peripherals, the Apple line and the Windows, the Dell Latitudes in the XPS series, although we don't keep the XPS in stock. I know some of you may be considering at the beginning of a new term replacing your devices. So do let us know in shorter so we can get things ordered for you. And then under mobile devices, you'll see the Apple, so the latest iPhone. Currently, it's the iPhone 14 in 3 different models. And then if you're an Android user, you've got 2 different models of phones. I'm not specifying which model because it changes every year. We'd have to update this and do this every year if I did. But it's the Samsung S line, so the S22, S23, and so on, and then the latest Google Pixel. And then down below that, you'll see I've made a little bit clearer the high-speed home internet access for reimbursement. And if you don't get a board device for your mobile device, then a communication plan that will be reimbursed to you as well.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions regarding this report? Trustee Daniele.
Thank you very much. Just one question I had on this. I recall in past years, and this is my 5th time through this, so I could be blurry. There was also a mention of a printer. And I'm thinking that the new trustees in particular coming in, if they're getting a computer, they may actually need a printer to go with that. But in the past, it has been specifically within the expense schedule, and now it's not. So I just wanted to ask about that, please.
Yeah, so through the chair to Trustee Daniela. Yeah, so it's not part of the Schedule 1, but if you read the entire procedure, it is in there. It's all still there. We reached out to all of the new trustees, and I've now gone back and forth with each one of them, and we're in discussions around not just the phones and the laptops, but also around things like printers and other peripherals. So it's still there.
It's just going forward, perhaps we might want to have things embedded into a schedule rather than say it's in the schedule or it's in the report. Because I know for myself, looking at the schedule, I would think that it's all there. And I'd be interested in later on if you want to let us know what some of the other peripherals that are being talked about would be, because trustees might be interested. I don't know.
Yeah, through the chair, if you like, I can come back. I can share that with you in whatever means you like. I can come back, or I can fire something out to you. Or
email would be awesome.
Email is awesome. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And feel free to reach out if you're interested in updating anything. Let me know. I believe at the beginning of the term there is a pot of money set aside for trustees for refreshing or purchasing new devices, as opposed to deeper into your term where it becomes much more limited. So if you're thinking of refreshing anything, this is the best time to do it.
Thank you very much. Trustee Collard.
Yes, thank you. We used to just get a form sent to us. It was back in the old days, we got paper, but then I think the last term, we got a form sent to us via email just saying, check the box of what you'd like, so that we can actually get a sense of what the devices look like without having to Google them. Is there a form this year, or will we have to Google them to see what it is?
Through the chair, there is not a form. Okay. So I think you'll have to. I've not seen. No one's drawn that to my attention within the department. So I think you're on your own to look something up.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. I'll start Googling later on
start
tonight.
Googling if you're bored. Start Googling.
Thank you so much, Trustee Garretts.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Schoss, Superintendent Schoss. I have one concern, the high-speed home internet access. Have you looked at the costs of rural internet? Because I can tell you that we're very limited in what we can do in Halton. And in my specific area, if I want high speed, it's well over $80 plus HSD, and there's no other option. So that's a concern for me.
Sure. Through the chair, is that through Bell or is it through Cogeco? Do you know?
Actually, no. It's through standard broadband because that's all we can get.
Okay.
So different areas in rural Halton, it's hit and miss what you can get. And maybe half a mile away, it would be somebody else.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
in my area,
So-
it's more than that.
So can you send me something that I can look at? I think we should absolutely consider that. It's never been in Schedule 1 before, but I think it
Right.
probably should be. And we'll have to discuss how we get that change into Schedule. Yeah, but I'd like to, if you
I
could
could
share
do that.
something that would allow me to
Absolutely.
look, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Okay.
No problem.
Awesome. Seeing no more speakers, thank you very much, Superintendent Shaw. So we will see you on the 9th. Okay, and that brings us up to information reports for November 2nd, of which there are none. And are there any notices of motion for this evening? Seeing none, we are now on to the director's report. Director Ennis.
Thank you so much, Chair Shuttleworth, and good evening again, everyone. It's always good to be with you to share some director's update. Just to let you know that our schools continue to be in great shape. I continue to go out each week and visit schools and see all the wonderful things happening within the Halton District School Board, something that we are proud of and we continue to share. At this time, I'm going to ask Superintendent Frankovich to speak to Launch 2022.
Thank you, Director, to all trustees. So Launch 2022 is a post-secondary exploration event. So today was day 1, and we have day 2 tomorrow being kicked off with opening remarks from Director Ennis. We have approximately 30,000 students from 12 different school boards participating in this virtual event. Our board is coordinating the event along with both of the Ottawa school boards. And I do want to just applaud the work of our instructional program leaders who've worked tirelessly to put this event together and have exemplary communication. They reached out at the end of day 1 today and said things went extremely well, provided some graphics as well as they are tracking attendance at each of the booths and the sessions. Students have 94 presentations to choose from and approximately 100 exhibitor booths to learn about post-secondary options available to them. And students were also provided with pre and post activities to not only prepare for the event, but to also consolidate their learning and next steps following the event. So it was a great day 1, and we're looking forward to a great day 2, and we know we're going to set the tone in HDSB with Director Ennis's opening remarks.
Don't put any pressure on me. Thank you so much, Nick. At this time, I'm going to ask Superintendent Taha to give us an update on the situation with our labor.
Thank you, Director Ennis, through you, Chair Shuttleworth, to trustees and senior team. As you know, on Monday, October 31st, the Government of Ontario introduced the Keeping Students in Class Act, Bill 28. If the bill passes, which is currently being debated in the House, among other things, it will aim to prevent a strike from taking place by the CUPE members, the CUPE employee group. A strike notice was received by the Council of Trustee Associations on Sunday that a strike would occur this Friday, November 4th. Obviously, this bill aims to prevent that and also would impose central terms of agreement on the CUPE members. We had communicated to families and to staff and to trustees, for that matter, that our plan was, in response to the planned strike, was to alternate our elementary schools, to keep them open and to alternate the schedule between in-person learning and remote learning. Obviously, in anticipation of this bill passing, or through the introduction of this bill, that plan is now suspended. Our schools will be open on Friday to all learners in person, and obviously our secondary schools will be open as well. We do anticipate, or we have information that there may be, and it's very likely that there will be a walkout in protest of this bill by CUPE members across the province. And also we're preparing for that walkout. The walkout will keep our schools open. That's not to say there won't be any disruption. The senior team and administrators are working diligently to ensure that the schools remain operational on that day, but certainly there'll be all sorts of things that we have to look after in terms of closing our schools and opening our schools and all the logistics that go with that. So that's what's happening. Obviously, the parties remain in discussion, and maybe a settlement could be reached, and all of this will be averted. Nonetheless, we're operating that a walkout will happen on Friday, and we'll have to respond accordingly.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Taha. At this time, I'm going to ask. Oops.
I actually had a question or a comment before, but I'll leave it for right now. Trustee Collard has a question.
Thank you. Through you. I'm wondering if we can explain to the public why it is that our board has chosen a different way of staying open or teaching remotely than many other boards through the province. I've heard that people think we may be hiring in scabs to fill the positions of people who might be on strike or not on strike. And I would like to have the public more aware of the reason why our board is able to stay open a little bit more.
Through you, Chair Shuttleworth, to Trustee Collard. The QP provincial group or union federation represents our custodial and maintenance staff in Halton. They are the workers who keep our schools clean and open and safe for our students. They exist in both of our panels, secondary schools and elementary schools. The QP Provincial Federation does not represent other employee groups in our district. In other words, our ECEs, our educational assistants, our office and clerical staff, our paraprofessionals and student services support staff. All of the education workers are affiliated with other unions, which is not the case for other employee groups. So obviously, the walkout or the strike would disrupt the Halton District School Board. There's an impact, significant impact, but the impact is different in our district than other boards. Hence why our plan is responsive to that impact. We've opted to remain open for the fact that we would have to shift that work to our management group. So to your question, will there be any scabs? Absolutely not. In labor relations, when there's a strike, management and non-affiliated employees of an organization typically take on that work. We are not asking other bargaining unit workers to take on the group of those of our QP employees, QP members, nor are we hiring scabs. We are trying to, again, keep the learning ongoing while at the same time respect the process. How long we sustain this is yet to be seen. As the messages that we've sent to our community and our staff, it's a fluid situation. Our hope to balance all of that and to keep our schools open to the extent possible, but there's no guarantees that we will be able to sustain it.
Thank you very much. That's a great explanation.
Thank you. And Trustee Collard, through you, Chair Shuttleworth, might I just ask Superintendent Goodet just to speak to our secondary schools as well and the differences there.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Through the chair to all trustees and to members of the public, our school board has many QP employees, and in our elementary schools, they make up all of the custodial staff serving elementary schools. But in our secondary schools, they do not. We have representatives from QP on our day shift as a head custodian, as well as on our afternoon shift as a lead hand. And the bulk of the cleaning is provided through the contract with QP. In the language of the document, it is contracted out for our secondary schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Harrison.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. My question is, what information will be communicated to members of the HDSB community and when?
Through the chair, we are working with our communications department, and we've already put out a number and a series of communication to our HDSB community. As things evolve, as things change, we change, and so we are certainly will be meeting with our administrators early tomorrow morning to talk about the latest developments and where we're headed. And we will also be communicating out to the broader community as well, just to confirm what our position is should things materialize where there is a labor action on Friday.
Thank you. Trustee Oliver.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. We did see the communications that went out to elementary and secondary students earlier this week. And I just wanted to, for the sake of parents who have children with special needs, there was a statement that said those with significant special education needs would be able to remain in in-person learning. So could we just hear a little bit more about that? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'm going to ask Superintendent Roddick to speak to that at this time.
Thank you. Through the chair to trustees and to Trustee Oliver. As many know, in COVID and throughout the school closures in those years, we brought our students with significant special education needs into the school to learn. The principal had a set of guidelines or criteria that was considered in making those decisions. So we were in the process of updating those guidelines to ensure that those students who would not be able to learn in a remote environment would be invited into the school, provided that the administrator could coordinate the requisite supervision. So if the student is in a self-contained classroom with a teacher, such as a life skills classroom, or receives the support of an educational assistant or the support of a CERT that could be brought in and supported with that staffing. So those guidelines were going to be applied on an individual basis, and principals would have contacted families to let them know whether their student would be supported in person or in remote learning.
Good. Thank you very much. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, Director Ennis.
Thank you so much, Chair Shuttleworth. At this time, I'm going to ask General Manager Thibault just to give us an update on the former Robert Bateman.
Through you to the rest of the trustees. So with regards to the Robert Bateman, you probably saw the announcement the other day, but as of last Friday, we formally closed on the transaction. So we are now the owners of the Burlington Central Field, an extra 5 acres I will be adding to the Burlington Central High School. So we're now in a complete site, and we've disposed of the Robert Bateman High School, and we've also secured the lease for 25 years with the city of Burlington so that we could relocate Gary Allen High School. So, it's been a long time coming, lots of support from everybody around the table, various departments, and we're happy to conclude that that portion of it's completed. Now we're moving on to the next steps, which, we'll be making announcements once we get closer to it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to recognize the great work of many trustees who have done outstanding work for many years. Trustee Collard, Trustee Reynolds, and all the Board of Trustees. Thank you for the great work and your persistence and your diligence in this matter. Thank you. And that brings me to the end of my report for tonight.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions for the Director? Seeing none, that brings us up to communication from the Chair. There are 2 letters attached to the agenda this evening. One from the Regional and Town Councillor from Oakville, and one from the Minister regarding the ending of extension of meetings through an electronic means after November the 15th. Those are both attached to the agenda. And one other point of interest, on my way to the board meeting this evening, I was invited by a former principal who was involved with the gift of giving back down at MM Robinson, and she sent me some pictures and said at approximately 80 students so far today and yesterday are volunteering in raising food donations for many different charities across Burlington. It was amazing to see, and it's so great to see the gift of giving back. Their mantra is kids helping kids, so it's a great opportunity, and I was really pleased to be able to pop in there this evening. I know Trustee Garrett was able to pop in with me too, and it's just wonderful to see that those are coming back into our schools, and we're seeing those community links between those charities within our schools. So just a little point of interest for you all. That brings us up to 6.7, trustees, questions and comments. Do any trustees have anything they would like? Oh, committee reports. I forgot. 6.6, committee reports. Does anybody have any committee reports this evening? Trustee Collard.
Just a reminder that the audit committee will be meeting on Tuesday at 2 for a private session and 3:30 for public session. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Harrison.
I just wanted to report that through you, Madam Chair, last night was the final SEAC meeting of this term, and there were some really great and interesting presentations. The first one was Superintendent Godet and Allison Vader-Ippolito, who's the General Manager of Human Resources, and they talked about all of the work that's been done to bring facilities into AODA compliance. And there were some outdoor spaces that were highlighted and indoor spaces, ramps, new learning spots, and just a wealth of information and work that has taken place over the last little while. And the second presentation was by Michelle Bates, who's a manager of student well-being, and she spoke about student well-being initiatives that are taking place across the board. And Superintendent Barnes was there as well as the superintendent with that portfolio. Superintendent Ruddock presented her superintendent's report, and she indicated that the CCAT 7 testing for grade 4s are now complete, and that those results should be coming out in the coming months. She highlighted the outdoor spaces at J.M. Denier's and Oakwood, which are newly finished and really wonderful. She spoke about the new IEP engine, which is called Aspen, which has some great new features that people are getting used to. And then she highlighted that it was the last SEAC meeting. And so I'll just turn it over to Trustee Garrett on that note.
Thank you. On behalf of Vice Chair L. Harrison, Chair Shuttleworth, Trustee Oliver, and myself, we want to thank all of the SEAC members that participated for the last 4 years. It was a challenging term for sure. Was the last part of it, well, the last 3 years, I think, were all online. But everybody participated the best way they could, and they were extremely committed. So this term is over, and applications are due on Friday for those that want to participate again. The community at large and the individual organizations. And then it will be reconvened in January. If anybody has any questions, feel free.
Thank you. Is that a question? Okay, awesome. Trustee Rocha, you are up next.
An announcement. The PIC, Parent Involvement Committee, is holding its first meeting of the year tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. for the PIC Steering Committee. And the meeting will be live streamed so that the public can watch, and it will also be available afterwards for those who missed the live stream.
Thank you very much. Trustee Daniele.
Thank you. Just to report that the Human Rights Symposium 2022 Steering Committee has been meeting and that the dates have been set for the Human Rights Symposium, December 8th and December 9th, and there will be more to follow on that.
Thank you. Are there any further committee reports? Oh, sorry, Trustee Collard.
Yes, through you to Trustee Daniele. Is there a theme for the symposium this year?
I'm thinking yes, but I am drawing a blank on it. I'm looking to other people in the room who sit on the committee who might remember what. I'm sorry, it's been a long day. I know that there is a theme, and I can get that for you.
Donna and Trustee Daniele, environment.
I believe it is environmental in nature, yes.
Environmental stewardship.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know we meet tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm just, my apologies, Trustee Collard. I am drawing a blank.
Sounds like a wonderful theme.
Thank you very much. All right, any other comments? So trustee questions and comments? I did also just get an update as well, that approximately, just back down to the gift of giving back, that approximately 150,000 pounds of food has been collected and over $60,000 donated. She said, not bad for a post-COVID return to school. The Eagles and the Barracuda hockey team really stepped up with only half the time to collect in their community. So they didn't have as much time. So it's been a great evening for the gift of giving back, and M.M. Robinson as a partner. Oh, Trustee Garretts.
Thank you. Through you to Director Ennis. I have two sport-type questions, actually. Number one is the Dome in Milton. Would love to have an update on that. And at CK. And also, I would love to hear a little bit more about when Elsie McGill Secondary School might be getting a proper track. I've had numerous calls from parents, very concerned that there is no running track there, and kids are running on pavement, shin splints, the whole bit, a bit of a health and safety concern. And it falls into a bit of an equity piece as well, since I think it's one of the only schools in Halton that doesn't have a track. Now, I understand it's a new school, so maybe it's just hasn't been put in yet, but if we could get an update, that would be great.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Superintendent Godet to make some comments.
Thank you for the questions. Through the chair to all trustees, I am pleased to report that we hope that in late November, students will have access to a dome. So we've had some construction delays with the grade beam, having some problems getting concrete, sourcing, whether that's COVID related or not. Certainly we're behind schedule. The fire route was reconfigured and a hydrant added to the back of the school just last week. We're wrapping up the electrical and mechanical systems in the vault this week, and we do hope that next week we'll actually see the dome spread out on the field, with the hope that it'll be inflated the following week. And then they've got some finishing work within the dome itself with lighting to put up. And so, like I say, hopefully late November, students will have access and use of the dome. I will say I'm not as pleased to report that the vendor did damage the track during the construction activities, and so that has been rendered useless and will be reconstructed by the vendor at their cost in the spring. So unfortunately, one of the tracks will not be available for use for our students in our community until spring of next year. So that's an update on CKSS and the dome. In terms of Elsie McGill and the track, so Certainly, I think there's probably differences of opinions on what a proper track is and isn't. I was not here at the time that LC McGill was tendered and awarded, and some difficult decisions were made through the process. But in sometime prior to June 2018, the ministry granted the board $32.5 million to build a new high school. That budget was increased through some supports from board funding, including proceeds of disposition and capital build capacity, as well as EDCs. In June 2018, the tender closed at $41.6 million. We had 7 bids, so substantially over the 32.5 that was funded. In June 2018, we went through a process of value engineering, and I'll say at that point, this is when it came back to our senior team, admin council, to make some difficult decisions on what the $3 million worth of components were to be removed from LC McGill. I do believe rubberized track was one of those components, along with many other components. So that was, it set the whole project into disarray, I'll say, in terms of the timelines and the scope of work. So, took almost a year to get back on track and retender, and late August close a tender with our successful proponent for a value of $33.6 million for the base building, which excluded a lot of land prep costs that were I think, engaged with simultaneously while we redesigned. And again, I was not here at that time, but that's my understanding, looking at other reports. And that's what I can offer is the ministry benchmark funding does not fund the expectations of staff and community members. And that's problematic, and we're going to continue to have some difficult decisions to make in the future in terms of what infrastructure will form a base necessity for our system.
Follow up through you. So Director Ennis, what are our next steps in terms of raising funds or finding another pot of gold, if you will, to get that track in so that that school, now that we're another school in the area doesn't have a track to use, to get a track in for these students so that it's as equitable as every other school in Halton.
Thank you for the question, Trustee Garretts. We're going to take this back to exec and have another conversation, and we'll be able to provide you with a more fulsome report.
Superintendent Nagoy, did you have something to say?
We certainly do need to take it back, but what I would like to mention in terms of challenges is that for new school, we're not allowed to use other capital sources such as school renewal or school condition improvement for at least 5 years. So that makes it very difficult when we're working with a benchmark that is so behind the cost of construction, where we have to ensure we get a school by taking certain components out, and then we cannot make some of the improvements or additions for a while. So I think we need to take it back, but I just wanted trustees to know the challenges that we're working with, even post capital priority parameters.
Thank you very much. Trustee Prevents.
So I just questions and comments. So there's a comment. It's more like a statement to say that with what's going on with labor right now, I fear we are heading down a slippery slope. I support free and fair collective bargaining. I support bargaining in good faith. And I am against and dismayed at the bill that was introduced this week by the provincial government that invokes the notwithstanding clause of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and also exempts that bill from the Human Rights Code, unilaterally interfering with the negotiations process. I think it's disgusting. I think it takes away people's rights, and this should not be done lightly. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Trustee Gobentz. Trustee Ruggiero.
Thank you. I just have a brief comment about the Launch 22. I'm a secondary student in grade 12, so I was there today. And I just wanted to thank the board for the efforts they've done for Launch 22. It gives the opportunity for students, no matter where they are in Halton, to access phenomenal resources for post-secondary, whether that's, straight into work or the trades or university or college. There's so many opportunities that otherwise wouldn't have been accessible for students who, for external factors, wouldn't be able to attend a post-secondary fair. So I would just like to thank the board and the superintendents and the IPLs for their work to ensure that no matter the student's situation, that they can access great resources for post-secondary pathways. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ruggiero, and you gave me my in because my son too is in grade 12 and came downstairs from his computer and all he could do was rave about it. So again, thank you so much for all your effort in putting that forward. Vice Chair Harrison.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, my question goes in a bit of a different direction, and it's with respect to the contracting process and where our requests for proposals are posted in the HDSB. And I understand they're posted on different portals commonly used by government agencies, and that these portals, such as bids and tenders, for example, they have registration fees and they also have downloading fees. And so for some businesses in general and post-COVID and perhaps in this time and place, those fees can be prohibitive and a hindrance for smaller independent contractors who may want to bid on some of our processes. And so I just wonder whether there are other ways for these groups to participate in the bidding process whereby they wouldn't necessarily incur a fee, because you never know where our next really great contractors for smaller, larger projects are going to come from that would really serve the board well.
Thank you for the question, Vice Chair Harrison. I'm going to ask Superintendent of Business Nagoy to respond.
Thank you. And for the chair, we certainly are posting our bids on bids and tenders. They are open to everyone to see. However, yes, there is a fee to download and submit. Through the broader procurement directive for the BPS, we are required to cast a wide net electronically so that we can market opportunities to a wide variety of vendors. However, we've taken that comment back because we do have a couple of vendors that have reached out to us as well, and we would like to accommodate those smaller vendors for which this may not be a common platform for them to submit. So we will be looking at the process to allow for submissions directly to the purchasing department as well, so they can ask for the full details of the submission of the opportunity, and they can provide a submission through the purchasing department. So we'll have something like that available for those vendors that may be in a position that financially are not part of or a member of bids and tenders.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments from trustees? Seeing none, we are now up to item 6.8, public questions. During the pandemic, we made a commitment to ensure that on the HDSB website, there was a link to allow members of the public to ask questions of the board, particularly relating to issues that have arisen during the meeting and surrounding governance. Questions received may be answered during the meeting, or they may be delayed to the following meeting at the discretion of the chair. Multiple questions received that are similar in nature may be grouped together, and a notation will be made that multiple people ask the same question. Questions will not be attributed, and any question that contains language that is hateful or discriminatory will not be considered. Vice Chair Harrison, looking at your document, are there any questions from the public from this evening?
Hi, through you, Madam Chair, there are not any new questions. No, actually, that's not exactly correct. There was one, but I answered the person directly. It was related to the timing of this meeting.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much. And again, out to our public, please don't forget there are several ways to be heard by the Board of Trustees. There is the question and answer portion of the meetings. You may also choose to delegate to the board, and optimally, you can reach out to your local trustee. Trustee contact details are available on the HDSB website. And seeing nothing else, we are now up to adjournment. Thank you everyone so much for engaging in our meeting this evening. Thank you for listening. And with nothing else here, as we've exhausted our agenda, I now call this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.